Welcome to the Runner Dudes podcast. Everyone is welcome. Runners are welcome. Walkers are welcome. The running curious are welcome. We're going to widen the door to running and soften the impact for anyone willing to lace up and show up. Today can be the day you take the first steps towards physical, mental, and spiritual well-being and become the person you are intended to be. We hope to inform, inspire, listen, learn, and help you start your own running journey, all while being moderately funny and low-key entertaining. Let's go, baby. All right, guys, this is Michael England again with the Runner Dudes, and...
Hey, this is Dusty again.
All right, well, here we are, and we're, I'm going to lead every episode with the banger that Jimmy Thorpe puts out there. We got to come up with a name for that thing. I'm sure Jimmy will. Also, at some point, we need to come up with some sort of survey.
Yeah.
If do y'all want Jimmy to make an album and like have a mixtape, and we'll sell CDs out of the? Are they selling CDs still? Out of the back of a?
It's still a thing.
Out of it, yeah. We get them at CG's Boutique. Anyway, so this episode is the big secret. Okay, we got a lot of info coming up here. We introed ourselves in the first one. This one we're going to start talking about. Running is maybe not as scary as you think it is. Dusty, when was the last time you were scared?
Oh man, that's tough. Although my son, one thing he likes to do, man, it kind of creeps us out sometimes. The other day, he's a little dude, real skinny, real long-legged guy. He can lay on the couch in his covers, man, and you won't never know he's there. So you may be sitting there having your coffee, and then he may just kind of raise up. So he did that a little bit last week, man. Kind of caught me off guard, spoke me just a little bit while I was sitting there trying to enjoy my coffee.
Man. Having kids, man, that's always an adventure, right? Mine, I was scared here this past weekend. CG went to the 127 yard sale. Ooh, she bought things we didn't need or have room for. It's ridiculous. Our house is, it's getting smaller. The square footage is going away because it's being filled up with.
It's definitely not because of the sneakers, right?
Oh my God, Dusty, why are you going to do me like that, bro?
Because, man, I'm right there. We're right there with you.
Yeah. Every time I say anything about the nonsense that she brings in, she was just like points at the stairs that have like a different pair of sneakers on every stair going upstairs. So this episode is obviously about running. Is not as scary as you think it is. And I believe so many of us, and by us, I'm talking about me, and I know Dusty, there's such a negative headspace, and there's so much negative thought when you say the word running to people. Dusty, what is that? I mean, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get they're going to recoil in disgust.
They're going to be just disgusted. They're going to say, hey, listen, if you see me running,
yes.
Something's chasing me, you better run too.
That's right.
Yeah, guys, we're here just to kind of bury that, that misconception that running is definitely not scary. It definitely is not, but we are going to cover some things, some experiences, negative, maybe some positive too, just to kind of put a spin on it too, just to show everybody, hey, listen, it doesn't matter where you're at. It's not as scary as you think.
And I think it's important to, and this is a thing that I talk about in recovery, we got to talk about all the stuff. We got to talk about all the bad stuff, okay? If we don't get this stuff out, we don't get this out in the open, then it is scary. When I was going through recovery, I sat down with my sponsor and we dug into my life, and I told him things that I had done that I hadn't shared with anybody. And so once you get it out in the open, it's like, it's not as scary anymore.
Yeah, you feel vulnerable. You feel like until you're exposed, man.
Yes.
I know what you mean. I had a kind of one way that I describe it. It's like if you've been in a pool, you try to take a beach ball and you push it down in the water. It stays there as long as it can, as long as you can hold it, and then it blows up. And that's kind of basically what this, what that kind of goes back to as far as when we talk about that.
That's right, dude. And in the first episode, I appreciate you sharing your experience, man, because that is, mental health is such a key component to why I even wanted to do the podcast, why you got involved, and why running is so important to me is because of the mental health aspect of it. But when I look back at most of the running I did before I became a runner, if that makes any sense, the running I did as a child, it was often punishment, as I said. It was often I had a coach and we didn't run the play correctly, or we showed up and the energy wasn't where it was supposed to be. So now we're being Now we're being punished.
Yeah.
And so I can remember vividly ninth grade basketball, Coach Blaine Moore. And I got to say, Coach Blaine Moore, if he's listening to this, is one of my favorite humans on planet Earth. He put me on this basketball team, and Lord knows I should not have been on the basketball team. he put me on the team simply because I did put forth 100% effort, I think. Now, what I lacked in size, I made up for by being very slow and untalented. and so the only thing I had going for me was I did run, and I actually was pretty good at it. That was the one thing that I could actually compete with the bigger kids is the running. And
that's same with me, man. I was didn't really know it at the time. I always ran as a kid,
Yes.
did. And I'm kind of the opposite. I never did view running like in sports as a punishment, even though it probably part of the time it was. But at the same time, I realized, you always had those coaches that said, "Listen, if we're going to be the smallest, we're going to be the absolute ruddiest team. We're going to be fast.
That's right.
We're going to run them to death."
That's right.
And
that was Coach Moore.
I was fairly decent at running.
Yes.
And I knew a lot of folks that were not, and that they viewed it as punishment. But I felt pretty good about myself because I felt good, and then I never did until I got in the military, and then
that's a different vibe.
You run to chow. You fill up, you got 2 seconds to eat, and then you have to run back. Then that's not so fun.
That's right. And there's probably not a whole lot of, you don't get to no, there's no option there.
Yeah, yeah.
And just like I said, with Coach Moore, that was his thing. You're right, Dusty. He said, and God love him. He had an absolutely talentless team that I have been on record as saying, Martin Junior High School ninth grade basketball team in 1993 might be, if the 92 Dream Team is the greatest team ever assembled, 1993 Martin Junior High School is the worst basketball team ever assembled. Real quick, we were playing at Whitwell basketball camp, and we were playing against a team from Bradley, and there was a young man on that team by the name of Keon. And so me and Keon became friends that week at basketball camp. We went to ate together, all stuff. And I can remember thinking in the first half when we played them for the first time that we were hanging in there. We were making Coach proud. And I'll never forget, I overheard Keon ask his coach, "Hey, Coach, can we steal it from them in the second half?" And I thought, well, we're going to need to get those golf clubs out when we get home because basketball is a wrap, bro.
Yeah,
and
done.
so, but that was what Coach Moore did. Is he was like, we're not going to out talent them. We're going to be able to run up and down the court. And so we still got beat every game, but I guess our cardio was on point. And who knew that Coach Moore would be launching me into my running career all these years later? So Coach Moore, if you're listening, thank you so much for that. But running it can be scary. It can be intimidating. And I can remember being intimidated even once I started my running journey this time as an adult.
Yeah.
You show up and you see guys like Brian Shelton.
Yeah.
And you see the young man who, from ETSU, I can't remember his name, local kid. Absolute stud.
I can't remember his name either.
Dude ran like a 14-minute 5K. Or you see guys like Christian, and you're just like, man, these guys are serious, and you feel intimidated.
Well, you've got guys with resumes that, I'll take it, with guys that I run with, Lynn Burnett, Travis, and all these guys that have, run Boston, numerous times.
That's right.
Man, that takes, for folks that don't know, Michael talked about as far as the Boston Marathon too, and we're talking about this as far as being negative. And this is not to be negative either, but there's a pretty serious, depending on age, there's a qualification that you got to hit.
That's right. You don't just sign up.
And honestly, that's scary when you first do it because you may not be. You're definitely probably not at that point where you can do something like that.
That's right. And I think everybody comes into it running, especially like I know I did. Like I don't know, I felt like. Well, like Jimmy, when we started this podcast, this is our first, we're doing this for the first time. They're like, anything new is intimidating.
Yeah.
And it's easy to get so wrapped up. If I can't be that guy, then I just am not going to do it at all. And to me, that is so ridiculous. And I stuck around simply because I didn't have a whole lot of choice. My life had gotten to the point where I had running, and I very quickly enjoyed the sense of accomplishment. But very quickly, it turned almost into like a toxic relationship because I felt like every time I go out, I got to go harder.
Yep.
And I got to go faster. And that's unsustainable.
Yeah,
that's
I can relate to that. And one thing that we've kind of alluded to too, also something that's negative. We put a lot of, we are our worst critics.
Now we're off on a topic.
We put the most amount of pressure on ourselves.
Yes.
And in the grand scheme of things, we're a group of imperfect people.
Yes.
Trying our best, just to take it one day at a time.
Bro.
And trying to find something that honestly, kind of helps out with that.
Yes. Running is also, when I finally, it became obvious that this wasn't I'm not going to run for 6 months and be, okay, that's it, I'm good for the rest of my life. When you finally embrace the fact that this becomes a lifestyle, and then running becomes something that I don't have to win every race. I don't have to run faster than I did yesterday. I can just go out here. I can remember being out on a run, and for the very first time, I was pursuing a relationship early in my sobriety with a higher power, and I did not find it. I was told by my sponsor to pray. So every evening I would pray next to my bed. I would pray in the morning. When I would go to sleep, I would say, thank you for keeping me sober today. I would wake up in the morning and say, let's get through today sober.
Yeah.
And that was my routine. And I did not have I wasn't moved. Where I found it was I was up watching the sun come up on a run, and like that tuning fork went off in the universe, man. And so I was like, I enjoy this. And so,
we're not saying you got to get up at dark 30 and start. Everybody's going to have to find their own.
Unless Jeff Lynch is listening to this, and Jeff Lynch, for the love of God, would you get up early
in
and
the
just
morning,
run?
man. We got to get you up.
Gee whiz, bro.
But yeah, everybody's got their own time frame. Everybody's got life's something we all deal with. We got to kind of navigate the best that we can. But that is something too that could be negative. We get consumed. We don't have a lot of time. Time's something that we all, we have 1,440 minutes a day.
Yeah.
And we fill it up with a lot of nonsense a lot of times. But if we can start something, start it off with something positive, and Michael alluded to it too as well, prayer. And that's something that right now that might not be the hottest topic to talk about, but being spiritually fit, being mentally fit, being physically fit. Mm-hmm. Honestly, if you're not mentally and spiritually fit, I don't care how physically fit you are. There's going to be a point to where you break.
100%.
Because I mean, honestly, man, from here to here, there's a pathway from your head to your heart.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when that gets blocked,
yeah, you don't have a whole lot.
You're done.
Let me ask you this, Dusty. What would Dusty tell beginner runner Dusty? If you could go back and start this journey, and I'm talking about from like when you started to become a running races and starting to get serious on your running journey, what would you like to have known?
I always felt like if I could go back and tell myself, I would get really consumed in. I remember the first honest to goodness training plan that I was on. I wouldn't miss a day. I took it super, super critical. I would not budge. Well, first of all, ended up getting hurt. So
yeah,
all that focus, all that determination was shot. Because honestly, hey, if you get up in the morning and you feel good,
yeah,
then you roll.
That's right.
You get up the next morning, you feel drugged down and tired. Guess what? Unless you're pursuing running as a profession,
now we're talking.
It's not the end of the world, man. Running's meant to be fun, and a lot of times, once we get super consumed in it, then we make it not fun anymore. But I would go back and tell myself not to be so serious about it. Early on, I told you, hey, listen, it was not worth lacing my shoes up for anything less than 10 miles.
That's ridiculous,
and that is that's definitely. I'm not telling anyone that.
That's it.
But don't take that out of context. But yeah, I would definitely go back and tell myself, listen, if you need a rest day, if you need to rest, or if you don't want to run, hey, listen, there are things in life that are far more better than what you're trying to achieve, as long as you're not letting it consume your life in the wrong way.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's easy to do, early on, especially when you get a little bit of taste of, once you taste that improvement.
Yeah.
Once you see that time get faster, and I think a lot of us, I feel like so many runners, especially when we're talking about 30, 40, 50-year-old runners, are dealing with mental health issues. They're dealing with recovery. And I think that we are the kind of people that if a little bit is good, then a lot must be better. And so I think that what I found, and if I could answer the question, I agree 100%. I think that that's the answer that I get from most experienced runners.
Yeah.
Is if they could go back, they would tell their younger self or their beginner runner self, calm down, bro.
Yeah.
Calm down, sis. This is not that serious. Are you paying your bills with running? Does your bank account require you to finish in a certain position in the next race? No. So what are you doing? And I can tell stories, CG can tell stories so often. When I got to my peak crazy runner guy, I was like, can't do anything this weekend, babe. I got a 24 miler and then I got to recover. And it's just like, wait a minute.
When your day starts revolving around your run schedule, then it's probably, you're probably a little in too deep. And you need to reevaluate. But even more simple than that, this is what I have told the people that I've been fortunate enough to coach, is that and this is going to be this, I think we're coming to the big reveal here. Yeah.
Slow down. Like, why do you think that you have to run this certain ridiculous pace? Like, you can literally slow down. And a lot of people are shocked to hear, guess what? You can even walk. Like time on feet and just getting out the door is a win. And doing anything is infinitely better than doing nothing or doing too much and getting injured and having to start all over. And so I feel like, I don't know what it is. Nobody would walk into a gym and try to bench press 315 pounds. That sounds crazy, right?
Yeah.
But we all strap on a pair of running shoes and think we gotta beat our mile time from high school.
We got to go fast.
And if you're not going fast, then you're not doing anything.
Right.
And so,
if you're not first, you're last.
Right? And so I want to go fast. And so Ricky Bobby, shout out Ricky Bobby. God, that's another podcast. Are we going to get off on a Ricky Bobby tangent? Sorry, guys. Now we're just going to quote Ricky Bobby for the next 10 minutes. But it is so very true. And let me tell you, I dealt with injuries early on, went too fast, ran too much, ran too often, ignored injuries. And so Lydiard Way was maybe one of the moments in my running career. I sent an email to the Tennessee Tech cross-country coach, and this guy didn't know me, and I got his email from, I think, Susan Wells something.
Yeah.
And I sent this dude this big, long, wordy email about running and spirituality and how much I love it, and could he help me, point me in the right direction. And I'm sitting, this is, I'm writing a Pulitzer Prize Nobel email, right? Send it to this guy. The only thing he sends back, 2 words, 2 names, Arthur Lydiard, Jack Daniel. And I took offense to that. I was like, this guy responds with that, and I've sent him all this stuff, and he sent back Arthur Lydiard, Jack Daniel. That probably means nothing to most of you. The point is, those 2 guys...
Jack Daniels, maybe, but it's the wrong thing.
Well, you know Jack Daniel. Well, I knew Jack Daniel. Not that Jack Daniel, the running Jack Daniel. You got to Google it.
Yeah.
And so, but the point is, you got to run a lot of slow miles.
Yeah.
And you've got to go slow in the beginning. And you've got to allow yourself, there's a very important word, grace.
Yeah.
And you've got to give yourself time. If you are at a point where you've not done any physical activity, then walking is a win. Am I right here?
Absolutely. That walking, the recovery, and one thing that runners, and I guess I can use that term loosely, we can call ourselves runners. One thing is cross training. What is this? What's cross training? That's what they all look at it. You got to do. It's honestly, if you want to get better, if you want to make these gains, you got to go slow. You got to go slower than you think. Yeah, you got to build your base. You got to start from square one. Mm-hmm. But a lot of how you become better at running are the things that you do when you're not running. If that makes any sense to everybody. And what I say to that is, your cross training, your weightlifting, your strength, and a big thing that I know Michael needs no help in is nutrition and diet.
Oh, now we're talking about some stuff, because I literally have tattooed on my arm donuts, pizza, burger and fries, and pancakes. Shout out Grandma's Pancake House. They may be a sponsor coming up soon. Grandma's Pancake House over on Willow Avenue. Get the most delicious pancakes and bacon and eggs, ice cold milk. Best service around.
And there's nothing better than just being able to, and you talk to a lot of runners, and they want to put the miles in, they want to do it just so they can wreck some food. I mean, that's it.
Listen, that's been a part of my recovery too, man. It's just like I do enjoy running for the sake that I can just go. Like, we went and smashed a bunch of chicken wings yesterday, man. And listen, if Travis Shope is listening to this, I had the side salad, bro. I got the chicken wings and the side salad. So there is definitely some nutrition there. But we'll get to nutrition in another one, and I'll have a guest that will come on, because I'm not going to be able to help anybody with nutrition. But the thing is, the going slow, I can't say it enough. I get so many people that come into the Exceptional Bean, and they'll say, we'll get to talking about running. And it's so funny. People will like sidle up to me and like, hey, can I ask you a question about running? And I'm like, you got 4 hours, let's sit down. I'd love to talk to you about running. And they apologize.
Yeah.
I'm not as fast as you. Who even brought that up? Like, why are we? Who cares how fast you are? And I feel like people have to lead with like their resume.
Yeah.
And then I'll say, let's mean you go run some miles. Like, I could never run with you. I'm like, you realize I can run slower too. Like, we don't have to go out and run these breakneck speeds. And so that was eye opening to me. You know,
well, you said it too. You talked about it earlier about giving yourself grace. And for whatever reason, like I said earlier too, we're our own worst enemy. We're always hard on ourselves so much. So give yourself some grace, guys. And just for the record too, I mean, I have some people coming in checking shoes. They all want that shoe to make them fast.
Yeah.
There is no magic shoe.
No.
There's hard work there. And just like you said,
well,
you walk,
Dusty,
you do whatever you got to do.
I'm going to have to back up here. Wait a minute. Easy now, bro. This is going to be, me and Dusty, I don't know if I've ever had a crossword between us, but I am a firm believer in the Deion Sanders school of thought. If you look good, you play good. If you play good, they pay good.
I'm not saying that. And I'm going to agree with that, man.
And I'm going to say a 4-letter word. Dusty, I apologize in advance. Nike.
Oh no!
Oh no!
But
listen.
But if you notice, he has kind of veered away from the Nike here lately, man.
Yes. I'm supporting local, and listen, the Nike Alpha Fly. Look, that's a whole vibe, but the shoes that we get from Dusty are just as good. And the point he's trying to make is that. No, there is not a magic shoe. So it is all time that you put into this thing. Going fast is something that you earn. But what was shocking to me is that you go slow to go fast.
Right.
And so it's not necessarily about running these really hard. Now there's a time and a place to run hard. We can talk about that. We're talking to the beginners, man. Just get out the door. I tell anyone, I've got several folks that I'm coaching now. And we're starting at like 5 or 6 miles a week. And the goal is to start to build a routine. It is start to build good habits. And so, getting the shoes on, getting them laced up, I say lace up, show up. That's the win. Getting out the door. And I say all the time, most of my workouts I will put out to the side. Here's what I would like you to do. But getting out the door and getting the miles at any pace necessary is a win.
Yeah.
And so
one thing, runners usually dislike treadmill work. That's always something that's just, you don't like that. Sometimes it's a necessary evil. But the whole reason that we're saying get outside is just to be able to get that fresh air. Take that time to reset your brain, to train yourself that you are going to do something new. You're walking, you're running, you're moving. You're moving your body, you're doing it. And you'll see gains, you'll see changes in yourself that you're going to like, both mentally, physically, and spiritually, hopefully.
Yes. Well, and look, and you talked about the treadmill. I'm probably going to go hit the treadmill this afternoon because it's so miserable hot outside. But what's crazy is I was just having this conversation with a friend today, and he started kind of dabbling in running, and he said he's already noticed a change in his cardio. And I said, man, that's what's so amazing is the more consistent you become with it, you'll notice cardio will improve quickly. And so, but the going slow is what's going to help all the soft tissue, the skeletal strength. You're going to get that strength in your legs. You're going to get that strength in your knees. I've got friends and I know people who've gotten into running that hadn't exercised since like sophomore square dancing. You know what I mean? It's been
chances are too. A lot of folks that may have tried running in the past have went about it the wrong way. And they try to go. To go too hard.
Yes.
They try to do too much, and then that's their negative experience with. And they will always compare it to that.
They'll cling to that bad experience,
and they're like, "Listen, I can't run.
I tried.
I got shin splints."
Well, that's part. Listen, you went too hard.
Yeah.
Anytime somebody says, "How do you deal with shin splints?" I'm like, "Take a day off."
Yeah.
The end.
And I never try to downplay someone's injury. Most of the time. We have this little thing in life now called a thermostat, and we can control our discomfort.
Yes.
So a lot of times, man, we don't want that discomfort. we want to dial it back.
Yes.
Shin splints, honestly, are probably not shin splints. It's just a slight little bit of discomfort because you've never done that movement before.
100%.
Hey, it's all good. That's just stuff that's going to help you out in the future.
That's it. Let me tell you, now you're talking. I mean, you do have to go slow, and you have to learn to embrace the discomfort. And that you got to do that in tiny bites. And you can't just the first time, and that I'm going to tell you, that was one of the things that throughout my entire life was a common thread. And it's the reason that led me to get into the trouble that I got into was because if something didn't come easy to me immediately, I didn't want to do it. I didn't want any part of it. And so running was the first time in my life I ever stuck with something that required me to endure something. It required me to show up every day, and it was the same as recovery. I had to show up every day. It required me to do a few things every day. I couldn't just show up and be good at it. And so I always talk about the lessons that I've learned in running, and I'm glad you brought that up, Dusty, because it is going to be there are going to be some days where it's like, ouch, that hurts. Or, the bottom of my feet hurt. Well, of course, you've not done physical activity in however long.
Yeah.
And so that's another discussion is this an injury or does this hurt? And like you said, it's a thermostat. How much can you endure?
Yeah.
But there's never going to be anything wrong with taking a day off.
Correct.
But get back at it. Don't just say, ouch, that hurt. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to guarantee anybody just a pain-free experience. What I'm going to guarantee you is that you can do this. And the answer and the big secret is slow down.
Go slow.
Go slow
down.
Go as slow as you need to go.
If you've got new folks out there, I encourage you guys. It's tough trying to start a new routine, especially when we're talking about running, where chances are most everybody is calling our bluff, saying running's hard, and we're definitely not downplaying it. It's going to be a challenge. Mm-hmm. But one good thing that we've got about this community is we've got a lot of folks that are passionate about running, that are passionate about how they want to help folks. So you've got groups, you've got people. That's where you're going to get your positive encouragement. You're going to see other folks show up. They're going to be like, man, my foot hurts too.
Yes.
And then you guys can bellyache about injury.
Commiserate about I love talking with Blake Shearer about his plantar fasciitis.
Yeah. That's what that becomes your run. Oh man,
that's right.
My belly's hurting.
Yes. And that's another thing you just said is get a running buddy.
Yeah.
Early on in my running experience is not only I wish I could tell myself to go easier, but the one thing I did right is that I had there's strength in numbers.
Well, hopefully you get someone that you can kind of pair up with. Like you and I are both completely opposite. You get somebody that can help you be accountable, man.
Yes.
And that'll definitely help you out and give you some positive encouragement.
we're going to wrap things up here. I think if you take nothing away from this episode, I want you to understand and say this over and over. You can run. Running is possible. Maybe we start walking, and once you get moving, if you experience some discomfort, slow down. You're always allowed to go slower. You're allowed to go at your pace. There is no right way or wrong way to do this.
Be easy on yourself and give yourself some grace.
That's 100% accurate. Guys, thanks for listening.
Yeah.
The Runner Dudes podcast is sponsored by Express Footwear and Runner Dude Coaching and Consulting. Produced by Jimmy Thorpe at sightandsoundcreative.com.